Good morning, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the very first episode of the podcast about the book called Approved, The Life Cycle of Drug Development. I am Vihang Ghalsasi, and I'm a co-editor of this book along with Dr. Naren Chirmule. Oh, yeah, he's already holding the book in front of him, and that's the book we are going to talk about. Uh, Good evening once again, or good morning, wherever in the world you are, or whatever time you're watching this video from. Uh, Let me just first introduce myself, and I'll also introduce our editor, Dr. Naren Chirmule. So I am Vihang. I hold a PhD in molecular biology from Heidelberg University, and over the past 10 years, I have worked in publishing, academic publishing, scientific writing. I have also been a professor in a university, and currently I am in an entrepreneurial gig. I am a co-founder of a startup, and over the time, I have had a lot of experience in scientific communication, scientific writing, and I and Naren sir happen to know each other since past 4 or 5 years. We have worked together on several manuscripts, and at one point of time, this idea of approved book came into picture. So we'll talk about how the ideation happened. But first of all, I would ask Dr. Naren to introduce himself, talk a little bit about your journey so far. What are the different professional positions that you have held, different projects that you have worked on, and how passionate do you feel about the process of drug development?
Yeah, thank you, Vihang. I consider myself an immunologist. In all my career, immunology has always been a theme that I've been working on, and I have 3 decades of experience in drug development from discovery through pharmacology, toxicology to clinical trials. I started my career in industry by working at Merck in Philadelphia, where I was working on vaccines for diseases, for pathogens such as rotavirus, HPV, and even HIV. Then I had an opportunity to go to work in Amgen in Thousand Oaks, where I was responsible for doing clinical immunology, where I learned much more about the overall drug development processes that are involved in, and especially interacting with the regulatory agencies in creating guidelines and how the drug development regulatory strategy works. And then finally, I had an opportunity to be head of R&D in one of India's largest biotechnology company called Biocon, where I was able to see the entire drug development process and really understand the nuances of the interfaces between science, regulation, and sort of soft skills that you need to bring the overall drug into the market. So these multiple experiences that I have really were the inspiration for me to write this book or edit this book.
Great, great. Could you tell us a little bit about how this book is structured? What all different chapters are there, and which different aspects of drug development does this book talk about? How is the overall flow of ideas? Just give a little bit of glimpses about the book.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, that our book that we came up with, the concept that you and I had talked about has been about for 2 years. If what we first started off was we came up with a table of content. And the table of content, of course, like I said, involves all aspects of drug development, which starts in discovery, goes through process development, manufacturing, pharmacology, biomarkers, toxicology, clinical trials. We also talk about rare diseases, which we'll talk a little bit more later, N of 1 studies, intellectual property, statistical analysis, and finally, risk analysis, which is the culmination of everything that we do. So these are the 17 chapters which comprise of the main aspects of the book. But the idea was to give a comprehensive overview of all aspects of drug development.
Sounds really exciting. What are the things that make this book unique?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of aspects that I think that are differentiated in this book. One, which I'm very excited about, and I know Vihang, you have also worked very closely with these folks. These are patient and patient advocacy groups, people who have experienced diseases. One of the forewords is written by 3 patients who have had different kinds of experience. For example, Murli, who himself has hemophilia, he has written his story about how drug development is involved in his story. Somesh, who also has written a very beautiful story about his own experience in multiple myeloma, and Rohan, whose wife, unfortunately passed away, but has written such a positive story about how it is so important for the patient advocates to work with the drug development folks to make this happen, right? So I think that
Right,
for me
right.
was an incredibly motivating thing for me to get this book written, not only for the professionals but also for patient and patient family. And in a way, we are all patient and patient family ourselves.
Absolutely, absolutely, sir. I mean, I remember going through their narratives, and I literally had moist eyes when I was going through their
I
stories, right?
know.
And because until now, as a researcher, for me, drug development always looked like a dry thing. It's something that I just do on a bench, or something that I write as manuscripts. But when I read the patient perspective, I really felt that what I'm doing is eventually at one point of time is going to make so much difference to someone's life.
Absolutely,
So this
absolutely.
is where science and humanities are sort of come together, the human angle towards it.
Yeah.
And that's really a very, very unique
Yeah.
aspect about this book.
And the second thing, I'll say three things. This maybe four things. What is unique, I think, in this is the concept of rare diseases. Obviously,
Right.
in addition to clinical trials that we all look at and everything, not much attention is paid to rare diseases. So we have an entire chapter dedicated only to rare diseases. So I think that I'm excited about that chapter. The
Yeah.
third thing I'm excited about is there are almost 10 different topics on various appendices on different aspects which we didn't cover in main chapters, right? And
Correct.
obviously I'm not going to tell you about all of them in this podcast, but the one that stands out for me is the chapter written by Samir Mitra Gotri on entrepreneurship. And I think
Entrepreneurship.
that
Yeah.
is another part, that is another target audience who would, I think, benefit from this book of learning experiences of 56 authors in this paper,
Right. Amazing.
and their experiences in drug development. And then finally, I'm really grateful and thankful to Carl June, who's also a dear friend, to write just a beautiful foreword for this book and encouraging us to get this book done. So these are the 4 points that I think are I'm very excited about.
Can you tell a little bit about Carl June? How do you happen
Yeah.
to know him? What is
Yes,
his
of course.
credentials overall? Like, I think he's a very famous personality, but I think for our audience, it would be nicer
Yeah.
to know a little more about this.
Yeah, Carl June is a pioneer in what we call CAR T cell therapy, and which is transforming how cancer is being treated today. And he's at the
Right.
University of Pennsylvania, leads the Institute for Immunotherapy, and he's a very important voice in the both the policy, government interactions, how the regulations work, as well as the science of what is being done to improve the immunotherapies for treating larger and larger groups of patients. For example, solid tumors is a very difficult challenge to be treated right now, and he talks about that. And so Carl has done a phenomenal amount of work in this area, and he's not only done his own work, but he's inspired a whole generation of people behind him to do this work. So I think
Brilliant.
that sort of I
Brilliant.
can talk
Yes.
endlessly about Carl.
Absolutely. I mean, it's an honor to have someone like him write a few words for us. And
Yes, yes,
I think
yes.
that's a hallmark. That's really a hallmark of this book.
Yeah.
So, overall, who do you think will benefit from this book? Who is it for?
So I think, in the span of people who can benefit, the way I thought about it, and because obviously you and I talked about it quite a bit, is anybody who's working in the drug development area, whether it is in academia or in industry. So I think,
Right.
like I mentioned to you, from my own experience, when I was in one department, I didn't know what the other department was doing. So this will allow
Right.
us to understand what all departments do. The second is students who are in biotechnology, but doesn't have to be biotechnology. It could be engineering, it could be intellectual property, it could be management, it could be all kinds of people who are interested in some aspects of drug development because it's so multifactorial. Um,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
so I think what I have been doing in the last 5 years or so, teaching a course on drug development, which is basically the concepts of the book loosely.
Mhm.
And I think
Mhm.
this can become a textbook for teaching the course on drug development. So these are the
Great.
span of people who can read. I don't think it is. It's meant for these people. Obviously, anybody could read it, but it is too technical for a layperson to read.
Right, right.
But what are
It
your
has
thoughts on
a,
this? Maybe I can switch around
yeah,
and
yeah,
ask you a few questions around this book because you've been working
sure,
closely with me right from the beginning. So,
sure.
first of all, your motivation on the book, I know, I didn't have to tell you even twice, and you said the yes for the first time. But what was your motivation in being part of this process? And maybe tell us a little bit about how your experiences in writing were shared. You shared a lot of information with all the authors to help this. Maybe you can give some tips about what you shared.
Definitely, definitely. So, as I said in the introduction, that I've been associated with scientific writing and communication since past many years, and I understand that communication is as important as research itself, right? So, you might have had your eureka moment, you might have discovered something great, but if you don't really tell it to the world, and if you don't tell it in the right way, it is as good as not having done. It is as good as not having discovered anything. So I'm really passionate about that, and I do have a little bit of flair for language, and so I understand that putting it in the right language, putting it in the right format is very, very critical for clear, concise, precise communication. So when you talked about this idea, I was just excited. I'm like, wow. I mean, I'm a molecular biologist by training. I understand the science to some extent, and I do have that expertise of communicating it nicely.
Yeah,
So this is a golden opportunity for me to, first to network with such brilliant minds and play a little bit of a role in actually taking this process forward. And if this book, I mean, I'm sure the book already is a great asset for the entire class of entrepreneurs and research professionals and students and everyone. And I'm really glad that I have some role to play in taking this entire thing forward.
brilliant. So, maybe then in the final few minutes, maybe you can tell us a little bit about what the plans. I think you've done a lot of podcasts yourself in the past. You
Yes,
have a lot of experience in
right.
this. And how do you plan on this podcast series to happen?
Sure. So I think conveying something in written text is great because it you can choose to read what you want and understand it in depth. But this is an era of audio visual communication. So to make a good word about something, I think an audiovisual media is the best mode of conveying something. I used to run a small YouTube channel back then, and I've got some experience of how to shape these things. And so when this idea of outreach came into mind, that how do we tell other people that such a book has come up, I thought having this YouTube channel could be a great way of
Sure.
communicating this information. So that's how we are here with this idea of YouTube channel, and this is the first introductory video of how the podcast is going to go ahead. We are going to invite individual authors of all the chapters. In some podcasts, there might be only one author, or sometimes it might be two or three, and it's just going to be like a nice, candid conversation. It's we are not really going to sit in a good big studio and talk with a lot of technical jargon. The jargon is already there in the book, so we are not going to talk about that in the video. We are going to just discuss, chit chat. It's just like a fireside chat,
Yes.
and plan to talk about every chapter. Also some appendices. Also our experiences of how we edited, how we streamlined the entire process, and that's how this entire podcast series is gonna go. I'm sure you as audiences will definitely enjoy watching these podcasts, and you will just feel like going and procuring this book and reading through it and benefiting yourself. So
Yes. Yes.
that's the plan.
Okay, so I think this sort of covers what we wanted to talk about today. So I'm looking forward to having these conversations further with you, Vihang, and the other authors.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to that as well. And it's a wonderful time. And so, for the audience, stay tuned for our next episodes. Uh, do subscribe to our channel, switch on the notification icon so that as soon as the next episode comes in, it will be there in your notification tray. And watch it till the end. And definitely go ahead and get this book, read through it, and tell us what you think. Give us your feedback. Tell us what else you would like to learn in the similar lines, right? Are there any other insights that you have had which might benefit to the other authors? So feel free to use the comment field, talk about it. Let's have a candid discussion and conversation, and the contribute a little bit to the entire drug development process. It's
Yeah.
for the benefit of us all.
Thank you, Vihang. See
Thank
you.
you. Thank you so much, everyone. And signing off for the first episode. Stay tuned for the next one.